Thank you. Yeah, this has been amazing. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to read just the opening section of an unpublished manuscript called The Intimacy Trials. And there's a number of epigraphs in the beginning of it. I'll just read one of them. Despite the US government's position that Indians were not persons or citizens under the law, but rather the wards of the government, Machunaza, or Chief Standing Bear, was declared a man in 1879 by the federal courts of the United States. Women were not afforded such intimacy. Initiate. The first word is gesture, is Gichimanadu's breath, but the beginning is also the end. There are in every membrane the cellular markers of death. Antecedents thread through each layer of dermis. We are each one of us wrapped in their skin. We who were once muskrat and owl, moose and caribou. We who are spirit and matter, anima and animus. We who have survived disaster only to find its transcription in our DNA. When anxious, we peel our fingers until they bleed. We lean over and gnaw the skin of another's neck, damming the flood inside of us. Not beaver, but raptor, all beak and wing. The cycles of time are concentric loops. Reach out and touch the blur of particles, past and future, mere inches apart. Yesterday, we walked across the pocked surface of the moon. Tomorrow, we will scald in the fires of Mars. The earth has been stripped of all her secrets. Each morning, a key wakes, dawn, prying her legs apart. The thing that I sort of forgot to mention about this text is that there's like two parallel narratives. One is in present tense, that is in the future, and one is in the past tense, moving towards the present. So the next section is past and then goes back and forth. It probably doesn't matter, but just in case. To detonate a people, expel them as if buckshot. A trial requires standing, the right to stand on top of another, to occupy their sedges, bulrush and cattails, their daughters, to fish every morsel of. The earth is more than halfway through her cycle. With age, she moves closer and closer towards the sun. Soon the scorching heat will evaporate all the water. We do not speak of this, cannot give voice to the end, only its intimations. Instead, we cut and let, we ritualize mourning. You pass the scalpel and we each bisect the crescent of our palms, letting droplets of blood. Purged of bad humors, we take comfort in the scant rivulets, snaking the barren ground. A deed in trust from 3 of the 5 nations to an unseen king, ceding 60 English miles of territory from Onegawani, Big Lake, to the fingers of southern waters. The red and sugar maple, eastern hemlock and white ash, the belted kingfisher rattled the muddy banks of excuse me. Kingfisher rattled the muddy banks of milk and mink and river otter. I could say those words, mink and river otter. All protected by, all subsumed by said majesty and his heirs and their heirs, and forever the heirs of. Signed with the mark of an egret, elk, arrowhead, in one stroke, one abstraction, everyone consigned to history. Such narrow strips of land on which to live, contraction as a means of expulsion, driven south then west then south, into crevices, veins, and arteries collapsing under the weight of. Never enough bullets or pestilence to eliminate the people of nations, on which another nation sits. There are less of us and more, birth and death, and in between our arc of brutality. We try to console ourselves, but have only the crudest instruments. You are more resourceful, mining the sea of its anemones, amenities. Plants can flower everywhere, even in the darkest depths. You flower, then close and drop completely away. The ocean absorbs you, spits you back out. Over and over again, birth, death, and the metallic flecks of your eyes. We sometimes recognizing each other in this passing. A flick of your tail and you are gone. An emerald horizon in your wake. There's just 2 more sections and then I'll wrap up. Synecdoche, one word, one world standing for another. It is the business of treaties, taking more than an agreement between sovereign nations, between kings, between men. Gichimukuman spoke only to father, brother, to the one the people lost, stealing sacred medicine for a butcher knife. Men traded muskets for lust. The brother received a beaver's pelt, his sister's thighs slick with fur. Nights in the quiet whispering of wind, we count the steps the sky takes to remake herself. Suddenly atmospheric, debris roughening our skin. You tell us a story about another time and place, but all we hear is our own suffering, the ligaments of loss. You pause to gather them, engulfing them in your arms. Here you say, and release them. All around us is a smattering of falling stars. Thank you.